Time out to look at the power plants involved with this magical world of drag racing. Naturally, associated with the American V8 engines, these machines use engines which are really taken to the nth degree to obtain that maximum horsepower from them. The use of metals that we would normally find in the aeroplane industry, magnesium, titanium, are all used in drag racing. The whole idea is to make the engines as lightweight as possible, but deliver as much power as possible. In a top fuel engine, well, you'll have 2 fuel pumps, 2 magnetos. The idea of those is to have 2 spark plugs per cylinder so that you can actually burn all the fuel that is being pushed through them. Transmissions, absolutely incredible. On a top methanol dragster, a 3-speed transmission. On a top fuel dragster, you have a straight-through transmission. It all adds to the excitement of this truly powerful sport. Well, Barry Sheevels, one of Great Britain's favourite drag racers in top fuel, the man who's made his way up from top methanol dragster and in 1998 was champion. But in the year 2000, he just lost the championship to Finland's Anita Mäkelä.
Hey, you were going, I just can't believe it, I just can't believe it. You pulled a red light, mate.
I still can't believe it. I thought I pulled an absolute perfect light. Oh, what a shame for everybody. Car's just running good now. No tyre shake. Just went absolutely fantastic. I just thought, yes, come to the top end, I thought.
Yeah.
Well...
We all thought as well, when you shot up the track, we thought this is it, he's done it, but no.
What a shame. I'm just... I don't know what to say for the rest of the guys, really. I'm really gutted.
Well, bad luck, Barry.
Absolute despair for Barry in the year. Could have won the championship, including Barry. Well, this was it then. Into the final against Kim Raymond, then a comparative newcomer into the sport. Barry should have had everything going his way. The Triple R car came up to the start line, and then this happened. The very worst thing for any drag racer. On came that red light. Barry knew it. He'd gone before the green had came on. He lost this race to Denmark's Kim Raymond. Andy Carter went on to win the championship. So, the year 2002 is upon us. What's going to happen to this very, very popular driver who has a huge following here at Santa Pod? The championship now moves on to Alastaro in Finland.
Well, welcome back to the FIA European Drag Racing Championship. This is round 2 from Alastaro in Finland, and it was supposed to be a noisy nitro burning day today, but instead, as you can see, the track is quiet. Yesterday was sunny, this morning was raining, the event has had to be cancelled. But don't despair, don't go away. Let's use this as an opportunity to find out more about these fantastic cars. Well, there's a very strong American drag racing culture here in Finland. This is Helsinki, about 2 hours away from the track at Alastaro. As I say, the Finnish are very passionate about their cars and about their drag racing. None more so than Kenneth Soderstrom, who at last year's Alastaro race had a very unfortunate accident.
Furthest away from the camera, Lena Nystrom, but just watch the car closest to the camera. That's Kenneth Soderstrom, and he is completely out of control. Just look at that, just nothing left of that machine. Every corner has been taken off. He goes over that barrier as well. That hasn't helped matters at all. And this is the result. Kenneth is okay. He's out of the car, receiving medical treatment. That's not a pretty picture to see. And there you are, shock obviously taking its effect and toll on this man. But let's just look at that again. Got very light at half track. End of the race for Soderstrom.
Now, before we look at the Pro Stock qualifying from Finland, let's look at round 1 of Pro Stock from Santa Pod in England.
Remember Russ, he crashed out of Santa Pod in a big way a couple of years back. Had an enormous crash. He's He's really got back on the horse and ridden again.
Well, let's see if this horse bolts as they both go up to the start line. It's Jakob Ferrer into full stage first. Jan Uren goes straight in and they're going down. It looks like it's Ferrer away from the lights first. Half track, you can see Uren wandering over to the arm on the far side, but Ferrer takes the win. A terrific drag race. Jakob Ferrer is going to be leading the championship.
Yeah, indeed. So our little pointer at the start of the programme was quite right. Taking the win, a 7.10 to a 7.59. With Michael Malmgren possibly out of the picture a little bit here. Ferrer is going to be the kiddie to beat. But Jan Uren, you cannot discount that man. He's back and back with a vengeance.
Well, a great drag race. Jan Uren seemed to be backing off towards the end, but there we are. Jakob Ferrer tops the table with Jan Uren in second place. Well, as we came to Finland, it was Jakob Ferrer leading the championship table.
We tried to keep up the good form from England, and we're trying to be contingent as we were in England, and so far we're doing good. We have done 2 rounds so far, and we're doing better and better.
Who's your main competition here today?
Obviously it's Michael Malmgren.
Do you think it was unfortunate luck at Santapod for Michael?
I don't know. Everyone have the same opportunity, so maybe he'll do better this weekend.
What about Jan Uren?
Oh, he's good. He will be a strong competition this championship, of course.
What do you think about the track here at Alastaro?
Oh, the track is better than we hoped for. Actually, it's very good. Almost as good as in England, but not quite. But it will be tomorrow.
So are you worried about breaking any records this weekend?
Well, we'll have to see about that. The weather is not too good, so I think the record will stand this weekend, yeah.
Well, here we go then, drag racing action. These are the qualifying rounds from Finland. These do count towards the championship. We've got Runeberg in the red car, 4th position in the series. And this guy, Hansen, that is Magnus Hansen in the black and silver car, 5th in the championship. Both cars now coming up to pre-stage. The black and silver car, Hansen can overtake Runeberg if he cuts a good light. Let's see what happens. They're away from the lights. First of all, it's Berg away. It looks like Hansen has clipped off, drifting off to the left-hand side of the lane. It's Berg taking an easy win there, notching up more points. But it looks like Hansen, yeah, his race is run. Well done to Hansen. He's pulling away to the left-hand side of the strip to avoid laying oil down, if indeed that was the problem. This is Krista Andersson, at the moment lying 8th in the championship, up against Jari Konla, who's lying in 6th position. Jari Konla should be able to take this win quite comfortably. We'll have to wait and see. Krista Andersson, also from Sweden, knows this track quite well. The track has been well prepared. We're expecting some quite good times. Both cars away cleanly from the lights. It looks like Jari Konla is going to take this win. Jari Konla comes up and he takes the win with a time of 7.094 seconds. A pretty good run there from Jari Konla. Now a bit of a weaving smoky burnout from Lena Nystrom in the Hot Wheels Pro Stock, and that's in the far lane. And this man is Jakob Ferrer, who currently is leading the series. Jakob Ferrer getting a very clean start, taking an easy win against Lena Nystrom. Lena Nystrom popping the chute quite late there. That's Jakob Ferrer's team, obviously quite happy with that run. Time of 7.042. Well, if there is one man that could get us into the 6, it's the man in the blue and white car, that is Michael Malmgren. But we mustn't understate the performance of Jan Uren in the yellow car, because he was the winner at Santapod Raceway, and away they go, and it's Malmgren powering through, but Uren popping his chutes a bit earlier, but that's the end of qualifying. And let's catch up on why it was cancelled from Keith Bartlett.
Unfortunately, the rain brought this whole event to a halt. As often been the case in drag racing. At 3 o'clock, the race director took a decision to call the race off, knowing we would be unable to get the track dried and prepared in time to complete any of the eliminations of the professional classes. Points-wise, it's standard rules. All teams competing here this weekend who have qualified will get qualifying points. Providing you're qualified, you will then get first round losers points. So the championship does in fact get affected, even though it was a cancelled event on race day, there will be changes in championship positions.
Well, as expected, Jakob Perez still at the top, but Malmgren has closed the gap on Jan Uren. Now, I think that many people think that drag racing is easy. A flat-out sprint over a quarter of a mile. What can be difficult? What can be complicated about that? But let's take a look under the skin of some of these cars and just see how sophisticated drag racing technology is.
Okay, this car is the Alastaro Camaro. It's a 2001 Camaro Pro Stock car. We're running the FIA European Pro Stock Championship. Everybody thinks that maybe Pro Stock cars is more like a regular street car, but I will show you right now it's definitely not. The only thing that's similar to a Camaro is basically the design of the car. That's very strictly that you need to keep it like a stock car. The whole front end is made of Kevlar, so we're very easy. Can strip the car between rounds, because normally you only got 1 hour to do the whole car to the next round. The engine, start with the engine, it's a GM Ultrabile DRC2 500 cubic inch engine. In Pro Stock, that's what you're allowed to have, not over 500 cubic inch. Most guys running 490 cubic inch motors. It's strictly carbureted engines, running unleaded, good racing fuel. No nitros, no turbochargers, it's a strictly carbureted gasoline engine. This engine produces about 1,300 horsepower, about 900,000 foot-pound of torque. The engine revs about 9,600 and makes a torque peak about 7,500. Okay, if we go further back, the car has wheelie bars. And these wheelie bars we adjust, so one of them has a little bit higher than the other one because of the stagger, because of the momentum of the car is tipping over when you dump the clutch, and you need to have that bar helping the car going straight. So actually, when the car is going down the track in first and second gear, when you have the front wheels in the air, the wheelie bars is balancing the car to go straight if the crew has done a perfect job. These cars are built to be lighter, and then we put some weight bars in the cars. We can move the weights around a little bit, 5 pounds by 5 pounds in the car, to balance exactly the car. Depending on the track condition, everything else, we move a little bit weight to get the weight transfer off the car to make it hook good on the starting line. And then of course, looking at track condition, we have different transmission, different split in the gear setups, so we can tune with going a high or low gear or soft or low gear to get this 60 foot very, very good, because that's the whole key to this car, how we get the 60 foot and how it's pulling down the track. I mean, when you're pulling high gear, there's nothing more you can do than cruise down the track. Okay, first of all, we do a burnout. And to do a burnout, I pull third gear, I put my line lock bottom in. That means that I put brake pressure. I put brake pressure on the front tires and nothing on the rear tires. And then I rev the motor up to 7,000, let the clutch go, make the tires start spinning. I put fourth gear, I put fifth gear, get the speed up, I let the line lock go, and the car takes off, and I make the burnout. Then I come back, stop, check everything, talk to my crew chief if there's anything going on. And then here we can adjust the last minute deal on my feeling of the track during the burnout. I can adjust the starting RPM on these things, on the very last thing, so we can make those decisions to last. Then I go up, I pull low gear, I go up to the starting line, put my shocks on, the electrical system, I put my computer on. Then I stop at the pre-stage, I have low gear in, I put brake pressure up, so I put up about 400 to 500 brake pressure. Put the line lock again in, means that I have brake pressure on the front tires, nothing on the rear. Then I can slide the car in by working with the clutch pedal and the gas pedal. I can slide the car in stage, ready to go. When I'm in stage, the other car comes into stage, I put the gas pedal, full gas, and that switch, because the clutch is in, holds the engine on the starting RPM that we set here. As soon as the lights comes on, I let the clutch out, and that releases the starting RPM to maximum RPM. And that switch releases my line lock in case I'm still holding my hand on line lock. After about 1 second, I have 9,000 RPM, I pull second gear, and I have about 70 to 80 miles per hour. And then I keep going down the track. Every second I shift. After 6.9 seconds, the Alastaro Camaro passed the finish line in a speed of about 199 to 200 miles per hour. So that is basically how this Pro Stock car is made up.
Welcome back to the drag racing, and as we know, the racing has been cancelled, but it's given us a great opportunity to find out more about the racers and more particularly more about these fantastic cars. So before we look at qualifying from Alastaro, let's look at the final of Top Fuel from England, round 1.
Well, we're just about to find out who's telling the truth and who's not. This is the final of Top Fuel for maximum points out of this first round.
Well, it's interesting, I would say, John, you've got Andy Carter, supremely confident, very relaxed, which must be good psychologically when you're going up. But Kim Raymond, very, very professional, a very focused individual, and he's going to be punching this one away from the lights.
He is indeed. You can't phase that man, I tell you. Here we go then. Into full stage. They're just going to ease these two cars in. Don't forget those huge noses out the front of the drivers. They're in control. Everything's plant that right foot. Look at this. Kim Raymond is out in front. He gets a better starlight reaction. And it's Andy Carter's car now. Look at that. Really, let's go in a big, big way.
Good news for Kim, but bad news for Andy. Jumps out the car. The back axle is broken there. The engine then over-revved and let go. Fire marshals very quickly on the scene afterwards. But let's take another look at that race.
Yeah, indeed. And it first ever run in the 4s. Well done.
Again, some more fiery action from Top Fuel at its best. Kim Raymond on top of the leaderboard. Andy Carter in 2. So in Finland, we caught up with championship third place man Barry Sheebles.
Well, we feel pretty confident running the first 300 miles an hour in Europe. Obviously that bodes well. And not only did we do it, we backed it up, and I think we would have gone even quicker had we not had the problem with the parachute coming out. But so we came here, and this morning we qualified and clicked it off at 1,000 foot, came back, took the computer data and overloaded it against the runs at Santa Pod, and it was pretty identical. So we felt confident, but we'd just been out and the car shook really bad and lost grip and had to shut off, unfortunately. So I think we were trying to get a little bit too greedy. We would like to take the track record here, and I think if Kim backs his qualifying run up, then he'll take the track record. So we'd like to have track records. We'd like to take that one, and obviously it'd be great to have the first 4 second here in Finland. I know that Kim's going to be the one that I'm going to be fighting with all season for the championship, and that's okay. He's a good competitor, good racer, good driver, got a good team, and you know, we've got all those things, and we've got great sponsors, and we're going to try our best to keep in touch with him all the way through the European Championship.
This is highlights of qualifying in Alastaro in Finland. This is Kim Raymond, number 1 in the championship, up against Barry Sheebles, who is 3rd. This is in effect like watching a final. Kim Raymond closest to the camera, Barry Sheebles in the far lane. You can see the crew chiefs working away on the cars. Runa there beckoning Barry up towards the free-stage line. There's a lot of rivalry between these two drivers. Let's see who gets away these. Barry Sheebles away first, but both cars light up. They're both clicking off half-track, an abortive attempt. But later on in qualifying, Kim Raymond did come out on top, which meant that he stayed on top in the championship, but Barry Sheebles managed to move up into 2nd position. So this is how the leaderboard looks. Andy Carter there, still in 3rd place. Let's take this opportunity to look around the nitro-burning monster of number 1 man, Kim Raymond.
This is a Top Fuel Dragster. It's 300 inches long. It's running on nitro, which we use as fuel. Here's opening here so we can see the tank. We have the tank as far as in front as possible to put down as much weight in the front wheels as possible so it won't keep over. Basically it's just a chassis, tube chassis of chrome molybdenum tube. It's very powerful and without any weight, very light. Here I have my tach, which I don't even see, but we use it in the pit when we tune the motor. It's a little computer plug where we take the informations into the computer. This is where I put on my pumps. When I race the car, we have one pump on it. I go in the pre-stage after the burnout, and I give it second pump, and then we're ready for rock and roll. This is for the chutes, when I want to stop the thing again. Take the chutes out here. And here I have a brake. This is the kill switch. When it's up, it won't run. Here we have the oil pressure. And I don't even see it on the way down there. We see it when we start up the engine. We need the oil pressure around 8-9 bars in idling. Here's the fuel pressure. And on one pump we are like 11, 12, 2 pumps we're up here. So a lot of fuel pressure. Then we have the engine here. This particular block we use here is a TFX 96 block. And the block is, I don't think there's a big difference. The car doesn't run any faster or anything else with if it's a Kiss Black or TFX or whatever. But we prefer the TFX 96. Fuel pumps here. When we start the burnout, we only run on one pump, this one. And when I'm in pre-stage, like I said before, we put on the second pump, this one. So we have 2 pumps on it. There's a very big pressure on the motor then, fuel pressure. And the reams, big reams, 36 inch high, 16 by 17. So it's a big ream. Bead lock, as you see. That means that the tires are screwed onto the ream, so the ream doesn't turn into the tire. That's why these are on. And on the rear end here we have the chutes, which is the things that stop the car again. Without them, you just keep on going because the brakes don't stop it. You can't even feel it. So that's the chutes.
Let's go on board with Kim Raymond's Top Fuel Dragster. You're looking over the top of this V8 7,000 horsepower motor. You can see the left and right headers popping away there quite happily. Headers is a drag racing term for exhaust pipes to the uninitiated. And you can see there's no flames coming out, there's no nitro popping out. If you saw nitro coming out at this moment, it would mean one of the cylinders has been dropped. That's what the guys are looking for all the time. The big silver cylinder in front of you is basically just a big can to catch any oil that's coming out of the motor. And if it did let go, hopefully that can would catch most of it. You can occasionally see thin wisps of oily smoke dripping out. The crew chiefs are working on the engine just in front of the big air dam, the scoop that sucks air into this motor. And on the right you can see the 2 huge magnetos generating the electricity needed to spark these things into life. Motioning forward now to the pre-stage line. When he gets to the pre-stage line, Kim will push in the second pump, boosting this motor to drinking about 4.5 gallons per second of fuel. Now rolling into stage, and away they go. You can see that both tyres lit up there. That's Barry Shibbles in the left lane. That's the end of a drag racing run. It's all over in less than 6 seconds. In slow motion, you can see the tyres lighting up there as they spin. The headers popping flames, not what Kim wants. And that's why the setup of a dragster is so critical, because grip is what it's all about. Well, it was a shame that the rain came, but hopefully it's allowed us to show you more about what goes on underneath a pro stock car and a Top Fuel monster. Now the championship has moved on, round 2, points have been awarded, but everybody's looking forward to hopefully sunshine at round 3 from Mantorp Park Raceway in Sweden. Hello and welcome to Alastaro in Finland for round 2 of the FIA Methanol Championship. Now yesterday the sun was out, records were being broken, but today the rain came and the event has had to be cancelled. But let's use this opportunity of getting under the skin of Methanol drag racing. Well, the Finns love their drag racing. This is Helsinki, which is alight with American cars and bikes. We're looking at round 2 from Alastaro, about 2 hours from Helsinki. But first of all, let's look at round 1 from Santipod in England. This is Methanol Dragsters. This was the final at Santipod. It was a terrific final. Let's see what happened.
Can Peter Chauffeur turn giant killer here? We've seen him do it in his small engine dragster, but now he's got this latest state-of-the-art machine all the way from America. Can he turn drag racing on its head and see off last year's champion? Now then, Turner and company have increased the power in the net-cooled telecom car because they appreciate that Chauffeur is on a charge here this weekend. Here we go, building up the rev. Rob Turner goes away first. Now then, Chauffeur takes the win. Extraordinary, great race. He takes the win with a 5.60. Rob Turner's race, a 5.84. They were both in the 230 mile an hour bracket. But Rob Turner tried every which way he could to take that win, but it goes to the German.
It's amazing, the car is brand new. We did the very first race here and look at the scoreboard, it's amazing, unbelievable.
Well, Peter Chauffeur's wife really happy with her husband's performance in the car, the all-new machine. And doesn't he do well, immediately running the numbers that put him right there on top of the leaderboard. So it's last year's champ finding himself in a very strange position in that number 2 spot. As I've said all the way along, this is round 1 of 5.
We spoke to championship leader Peter Chauffeur as he arrived in Finland. Where are you in the championship at the moment? Do you think you can actually defend that lead here, or is this a difficult track for you?
You can't say it very clearly because this is the very first year with that car and it's the second race with that car, and we try to do our best, but that's all we can say.
Do you like this track?
Yeah, it's good. It's nice the pit set out, and we like to race here.
Why are the Finns so passionate about drag racing? There seems to be thousands of people here today.
It's just the best sport, best motorsport, that's why.
And do you like it in Finland?
Yeah, we love the tour over here with the Finland race and then Mantorp and Norway. It's we take it as a vacation as well.
That was Rob Turner, who was second in the championship, but this is Peter Chauffeur coming out for qualifying in Finland, number 1 in the championship on 97 points. Rob Turner about 20 points behind him, but he could turn it round today if he had a result. But in the other lane, it's Jari Hallinen from Finland, wasn't in the first round, so Peter Chauffeur here was expected to walk this first round of qualifying. There goes Chauffeur, away he goes. Over the line, a good time, giving him number 1 qualifier. A very happy team there. And we move on to the second round of qualifying, and it is Rob Turner from Great Britain. As I say, at this point, lying second in the championship. In the other lane, it's the American Car Imports car of Dave Wilson, but Rob here on 76 points in the championship. Dave Wilson is third on 63. Dave would be hoping to close the gap. But remember, at this point, they're all thinking that they're going to be racing on the Sunday, not aware that these qualifying times will be counting for the championship. Rob Turner away from the lights first, but Dave Wilson coming over to take an easy win and clocking up more points in the series, thereby closing the gap on Rob Turner. That was the only racing these guys got because the next morning the rain came.
Unfortunately, the rain brought this whole event to a halt, as often been the case in drag racing. At 3 o'clock, the race director took a decision to call the race off, knowing we would be unable to get the track dried and prepared in time to complete any of the eliminations of the professional classes. Points-wise, it's standard rules. All teams competing here this weekend and have qualified will get qualifying points. Providing you're qualified, you will then get first round losers points. So the championship does in fact get affected, even though it was a cancelled event on race day. There will be changes in championship positions.
Valuable points mean Chauffeur stretches his lead and Wilson catches up on Turner. Well, this is crazy. I'm now standing here and it's the sun's bursting through the clouds. Unfortunately, the rain did the damage this morning. But let's take a chance to look at a top Methanol dragster in detail, and particularly that of Dave Wilson.
Hi, my name's Andy Bissett. I'm the crew chief on the American Car Imports Racing Top Methanol Dragster. This is the quickest and fastest Top Methanol Dragster in Europe. We run a 5.567 in elapsed time and 253.81 miles an hour. What I'll do is I'll show you around the car. We'll strip some panels off as we go along. We'll go from the back to the front and you can see what's actually under the skin of this machine. Start at the front end here. These are the front wings. The car is obviously travelling at over 250 miles an hour, so we need to keep the front end on the ground. So these wings keep the car under control. Front wheels here, mounted straight onto the chassis. There's no suspension on this car at all. It can be a bumpy ride. If you look at the front wheels, you'll notice they're not actually directly in line, they're slightly staggered. This is to make the car easier to stage for the driver, because obviously he's trying to control a lot of horsepower on the clutch and the brake. So the wheels are slightly staggered. You get a larger footprint that breaks the beam, which makes the car easier to stage. This is the main logging unit, which is actually recording all the information. So all the sensors on the car all come through all these cables and pressure lines into this part of the car, and everything is recorded here. Then when we get back to the pits, I'll plug a cartridge in here and download this computer, and then we have a laptop inside the trailer and we can sit and analyse all the data. Also a little battery there which powers the shift lights, which we'll show you in the cockpit. They show Dave when to shift gear. And we also have a bottle here full of compressed carbon dioxide, which actually makes the gearbox shift. This is the cockpit. This is the main control centre where the driver sits. This is the accelerator pedal. Obviously this makes it go faster. You'll notice we have a sensor mounted on there which is connected to the computer, so we can actually see the accelerator position during the run if the driver has to lift. We can tell exactly how hard he hit the throttle, how quickly, how long he was on the throttle for, anything like that. We also have mounted here is a radio. I have a set of headphones on the start line, so we can talk to the driver whilst we're in stage, after he's been strapped in, while he's going down the shut-off area. We're in complete communication. This set of lights here are the shift lights, which we had the battery for back there. These tell the driver when to shift gear, so we can set which RPM these will come on at, and that then tells him when to shift gear. And he shifts gear by pushing these buttons on the steering wheel, which releases the air in the bottle that we showed you earlier on, and actually moves a ram in the gearbox to actually change gear. Moving back, this is the radio aerial, which transmits the signal across to us. We also have an oil pressure gauge, so on the start line we can take a look at the oil pressure and see make sure that everything's okay before we give the driver the thumbs up and tell him it's time to go. Fuel tank there holds 8 gallons of methanol. On an average run we'll use about 5 gallons of methanol. That includes doing the burnout and reversing and everything. This is the control box for the ignition system. There's also a rev limiter in there, so if something goes wrong and the engine RPM jumps up too far, this will kill the ignition to save the engine for us. Fuel pump there. This fuel pump will flow 18 gallons of fuel a minute. On a typical run we will probably have it set at more around 16 or 17 gallons of fuel a minute. An oil filter there, just because it's an aluminium block, it's inevitable little shards of aluminium will get in the oil. This will just strain them all out for us. PSI supercharger, state of the art, the best thing money can buy. This is brand new, was bought at the beginning of the season, built by a guy called Norm Drazy in the States. This makes approximately 60 PSI of boost in the manifold. That's before any of the fuel or air gets compressed. This is the best thing that you can buy, and this has given us the horsepower to set European records so far this season. So you've seen the car, now let's meet the team. This is the American Car Imports Racing team. Fastest team in the top methanol dragster category and the best crew in Europe by far. This is Ricky. Ricky's in charge of a lot of the small details on the car which are easily forgotten but are very important. And if any of them get forgotten, for instance filling the fuel tank with fuel, we're in big trouble. This is Fred. Fred's our bottom end man. He's all the way from the USA. He's been working in England, and unfortunately he's going back to the USA at the end of the year. Here's his replacement. He's already on the team learning. This is Mike Nichols. Next we have David Wilson. David is our son, is the son of our driver Dave. Been into drag racing since he was a kid, knows everything there is to know. He's our team's main technical person. This is Tony Cohen, Managing Director of American Car Imports. Our team's team owner. He owns this car, new car that we've just brought over from America at the beginning of the season. Tony's also out there finding more sponsors, not only for our team, but for the sport of drag racing as a whole. And then finally we have Dave. Dave's our driver, been driving alcohol dragsters for 25 years now. He is the quickest and fastest man in Europe. He knows everything there is to know about alcohol dragster racing, but this is the team.
Stick your foot in the clutch.
Yep.
All right, go for it.
Can you just tell us why you did that?
Sure. This is all the oil pump and the fuel pump are both run directly off of the crankshaft. So the only way you can build up oil and fuel pressure is to spin the engine over. So spinning the engine over there, checking the oil pressure gauge that's back behind the driver. So when we can see that there's oil pressure in the system and we can see fuel flying out of the dribblers in the injector hat there, we know that we've got fuel pressure and we've got oil pressure and it's safe to start the engine. Okay, after we've built up fuel and oil pressure by that initial spin of the engine, it's then time to start. So we reach in and turn the ignition on, spin the engine over again. There's a wire that's cutting across the ignition. Pull that wire off and the ignition fires and the engine starts. And once the engine's running, you'll see David kneel down and flash a little silver gun at the engine, which is a timing light. It's connected to one of the ignition leads, and the light flashes every time that spark plug fires. So we can check that against a mark wheel on the crankshaft, which marks where the ignition should be firing. We can check the ignition is set up to fire at exactly the right point in the engine cycle. Once he's checked that, we're letting the engine build up temperature. It's important before you rev up the engine to check that it's working, that everything is nice and warm. You may have noticed that I was flashing a little infrared heat gun onto the oil pipe, so I can see the temperature of the oil as it comes out of the pump, and as that oil starts to warm up, the little infrared gun will tell me that oil temperature. When I see it's started to come up by about 20-30 degrees Fahrenheit, and the engine feels warm, not just the cylinder heads, but the whole block and everything is warm, and it's safe to blast the engine up, take the gun away, give Dave a thumbs up, and then he'll get on with it.
As I say, the heavens have opened here, racing is cancelled, but it's giving us a chance to show you what drag racing is all about. Welcome back to the drag racing, and as we know, the racing has been cancelled, but it's given us a great opportunity to find out more about the racers and more particularly more about these fantastic cars. Before we look at qualifying in Finland, let's take a look back at the final from round one of the Methanol Funny Cars in England.
Here we go then, the final of Top Methanol Funny Car. Funny car, funny looking car. That's how they got their name, factory experimental cars, to sell cars in America when they first started their lives. These two protagonists have met so many times before. And remember those numbers that Andreasen said he was going to beat Kagarad by the all-important start line. Kagarad gets away first and takes the win. Wow. Is Kagarad ever happy? And look, why not? A 52 to a 61 reaction time. He was out in front of Andreasen right from the word go, and then straps a 589 onto Andreasen, which is what the number was that Andreasen said he was going to run, and Andreasen loses out with a 601. Michael Kagarad gets maximum points from this round.
It feels really good. It was a long time we was a winner in the alcohol funny car. And it feels good to beat Andreasen also because he's a hard man to beat. So it feels great. I'm very happy.
Well, there you are. I can remember as though it was yesterday when Michael could only say the word yes when being interviewed, and here he is now, most eloquent in receiving the accolades as being on top of the pile for this year. So far, only round 1 of 5, don't forget. Michael Kagrad sits in front of his old adversary, Leif Andreasen. He's got it all to play for this year.
How do you feel now about the championship coming into Finland?
So far so good. We don't have any spare engine right now because we blew one engine in England the first race, and what we can do at this race, we can pick up some points, and we need the points till we come into Sweden.
Historically, you've done quite well here, haven't you?
I think so. I don't have exactly the numbers, but we've been doing good. We've been in the finals a lot of times, and hopefully we're going to be this weekend too. Any
tuning things that you've done to the engine?
No, actually no. We're running the same setup that we did in England and that we did in the States earlier this spring. So the car should be running much better. We have some problems, but we have to sort out the problems, and then we think the car is going to run good.
You're right next door to Michael Kagrad. He's still got to be your #1 competition?
Yeah, I think he's one of them, because we have Hellanders, we have Urs Erbascher, we have Leif Helander, all the other guys. They're running pretty good, quite good right now. So you need to be a good driver, then maybe we can win it.
Well, this is qualifying from Finland, and valuable points were to be awarded against these times. Clearly the racers would be planting their foots down anyway, despite not knowing about the rain the following day, because they want that #1 qualifier position. Remember, the faster you qualify, the slower the person you meet in the first round of the race. This is Leif Andreasen on the left of the picture, up against Mickey Kagrad. Leif Andreasen, the current European champion. Mickey Kagrad, however, leading the championship table. Let's see what happens. The lights count down. Away goes Andreasen, first off the line, but it is Kagrad with his escape hatch flapping in the wind who takes the win. Kagrad there taking a time of 5.93 seconds. Second up we have Ulf Leanders doing a big smoky burnout. Thousands of Finnish spectators coming out on this sunny day. Looks like Ulf Leanders was up for a bye run in qualifying. The Methanol engines crying out in the pine forests of Finland. Away goes Ulf Leanders down the track, bobbing and weaving over the line, taking the fastest qualifying time of 5.88 seconds. This is Urs Erbascher. Urs Erbascher at that point still within 4th or 5th position in the championship, looking to plant a good time down against the man in the far lane, which is Leif Helander. Leif Helander from Sweden has in the past put in some very, very quick times. Urs Erbascher coming up into pre-stage. Leif Helander just nudging up very slowly, taking his time, coming into pre-stage in the black and blue funny car. Both cars in pre-stage. Who goes into stage first? It's Erbascher, followed by Helander. The lights count down, away they go, and it looks like it is Erbascher. So Kagrad there at the top of the tree, followed by Andreasen and Helander in 3rd. Now let's take a look at Top Methanol funny cars. Probably one of the most dangerous and most difficult forms of drag racing. Dangerous because the driver is sitting right behind the engine, and if anything goes wrong, he'll collect it straight into his face. And difficult because they've got a short wheelbase, they've got 2 pneumatically operated gears, and it's quite difficult to drive those cars straight up the track. But let's find out more from Michael Kagrad. Mickey, tell us something about your car.
It's this is a funny car, and it's a carbon fiber body on it. And if we start from the front here, we have here is the front. On the car is carbon fiber, and if you're coming over here, you have a thing for if the motor is exploding. This should lift up. This one. And on the side here you have the headers out from the motor. And yeah, here you can see into the car. It's the steering wheel and the seats and everything in there. And up here you have a thing to go out from the driving seat if it's on fire or if you want to go out from the car. And back here you have the big wheels and the wings to have the car down. We have a wing back there also to keep the pressure down on the car. And back here you have two parachutes to help the car to stop. Usually we have a wheel back here also to help so we don't have the wheel stand. In the front here you can see the fuel tank first, the oil tank, and the fuel line to the fuel pump here goes into the motor and into the blower and down to the motor again. And here you can see the clutch and the transmission, and where I'm sitting and drive the steering wheel. Here you have the gears here. It's the second gear and the third gear. And what else do we have? We have the shift lamp for the shifting, the temperature, the oil pressure, and here is the brake. And back here do you have the computer, and here is the bottle for the air for my helm, and here is the rear end, and yeah, that's it.
Well, ironically, the sun is now coming out at Alastaro, but it's too late. All the teams are packing up and going home. We've brought you up to date with the championship and hopefully given you a useful insight as to what goes on in some of these teams when the cars leave the racetrack. Make sure you join us though for round 3, which comes from Mantorp Park Raceway in Sweden.